Hello, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. It is May 4th. May the 4th be with you. How are you, Jen?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. This is Jennifer Lowe. She is with the Modern Mortgage Group and Dominion Lending, obviously. So, I just went over the stats, and what I'm seeing right now, I'll actually show you. What I'm seeing is that the stats for this past week have just gone crazy. So the list to sale ratio is new listings 259, pending sales, so that's reported sales, is 244. What are you seeing with your buyers going on right now?
Definitely seeing a lot more activity, a lot more interest in properties. I've had a few clients unsuccessful in making bids as we're seeing these multiple offers again, which is interesting.
And how many, like a percentage of clients, how many are going into multiple offers?
This past week, all of a sudden, it seems like I'd say 75%. I had a couple Monday morning that multiples, and pulling back, or fortunately, no one was successful this time, but hopefully with new listings, lots of new listings coming up, that people will be successful.
So let's just talk about getting people prepared for the offer situation right now. I mean, when I call this a flip in the market, when something happens like that all of a sudden, and really it has to do with the client being really flexible. So the buyer being flexible in terms of the dates that they can provide for the seller, because if they can match the seller's dates, they may save the seller a lot of money. Should they be selling before they buy? That's a question I'm starting to get now too, because if they sell, then there's more flexibility in when they can purchase.
Yes.
What are the steps that people go through? So, like for instance, I use you as a mortgage broker. I had somebody the other day ready to write an offer. What I do is I contact you and I say, how many days do they need to remove subjects? And it depends on what their situation is, right?
Yeah. So when I'm letting you know that, so the steps that I go through is when I meet with a client, we do an introduction. I find out a little bit about their situation. There's sort of three main things that go into getting approved for a mortgage. It's client's credit. If there's any challenges with that, we always want to do a credit check to determine if we can have them pre-approved or not, because people never know. I use the example of myself having an $8 library charge years ago that went to collection that I had no idea that
Oh
was
my God.
$8. So things like that, you just don't know. So credit check is very important. The next thing is income. People's income varies so much, right? What they do for work, whether they're a permanent employee, whether they're casual, whether they're self-employed. All those things determine the type of income documents I need to obtain. And then the third thing is where their down payment is coming from, whether it's savings, a gift from family, RSPs, whether they're looking to take money out of an RSP. Those are sort of the three main options for your down payment.
And sometimes people they don't want to depend on family for things like down payments or whatever, and things change. I find like, okay, well, now the motivation may change, or they get a gift letter or something.
Yes. And then all of a sudden the family's able to help out, or they want to help out more than they originally said they would help out. Having the conversation around whether or not their family is comfortable to sign a gift letter, because they have to, that's a lender requirement. If the money is a gift, we need a gift letter signed. what I do then, and finding all that information out, then I'm sending them the mortgage application form for them to complete. And in doing that, I provide a secure link to upload their documents as opposed to doing it through email.
Right. Good idea.
Yes, much more secure. And then once I have their documents, I'm able to then confirm the figures that I've been told. So whether or not, if someone makes $100,000 a year, that's what they tell me. But then I get their pay stub and it's actually 94,000. Well, in the old ways, that, there's a gray area and we could just, it's okay. In the new world, that doesn't work. There is no gray areas.
When did the old world turn into the new world?
I would say it started changing probably about 2014 and 2018 when they brought in the stress test. That gray area of the qualifying ratios was completely gone.
Okay. And so people need to get their ducks in a row before they write the offer. What I tend to do is call you and go, I don't ask for financials, but I ask for details.
Yeah.
Are we ready to write an offer?
And when I say, sometimes I'll say to you, yeah, we literally 2 days, because I know I can send it to one particular lender that I work with very regularly, First National, and they're usually back to me within 4 to 5 hours.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's great. But I can't send everyone to First National because they are your AAA lender. So if client has very good credit, we've got their down payment verification, I've got their income verification up front, I know we can get that done within just a few days. And quite often, if it's a high ratio purchase, meaning like if clients have less than 20% down, we won't need to do an appraisal. And
Right.
that appraisal adds on 2 to 3 days.
Because the mortgage is insured.
Yes.
Okay.
Which means basically less risk to the lender because the mortgage insurer is assuming that risk.
Has the failure of banks in the US affected anything in Canada?
They affected interest rates significantly. Our bond rate with the bond market was affected, which then has dropped our 5-year fixed rate down to like 4.39 to 4.59. Mm-hmm.
Good. And are you requalifying people now?
Yes. Yep. Definitely going through those original pre-approvals that I did 6 months ago, 3 to 6 months ago, and checking in with them to let them know that their purchase price has, or potential purchase price has increased.
Okay, so somebody has met with you. They've been introduced to you by the broker or realtor. You have gone through the applications. They've submitted everything. They're ready to go. And the realtor or the buyer calls you and says, or sends you a text at midnight on Saturday. Not me. Who is that?
You're the only one that I'm okay with that.
Okay, we're writing an offer. Are we ready to go? Yes. Okay. How many days do I need? 3 days. Okay, then what? We send you a copy of the accepted offer. Yes. And the MLS sheet.
Yes.
And then you send it to the preferred lenders. Do you send it more to one lender?
Usually not. I
Are you?
choose.
Yeah, you're pre-shopping before.
Yes. That's something that I have to admit, I'm not very good at explaining because I have it all in my head I know where, having been doing this for many years now, I know where I want to go or where the best likely lender is going to approve this. I mean, lots of mortgage brokers like to say that they work with 40 plus lenders, but there's no way you can know all the ins and outs of those 40 lenders, and have relationships with the person at the other end of the computer. So honestly, I like to work with, I've got my top 10 lenders that I work with very regularly, that I work with the underwriter. I like the underwriter. They like me. So things work seamlessly.
Right. So like you have your A lenders, your B lenders, and you have your like where the buyer qualifies. Then
Yes.
you're like plugging them into the
Yeah.
specific lender. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Basically, there's 3 banks that I work with regularly, 2 credit unions, and then I'd say 4 or 5 monoline lenders, they're called, and they're basically non-bank lenders, only accessible by mortgage brokers.
Okay. Would that be like ICICI?
Yep. Or First National is the biggest one across Canada. MCAP, RMG. The advantage to the monoline lenders is that quite often they have better fine print than the major banks, especially when considering fixed rate mortgages, which is what a lot of people are considering now.
So I say to people, I'm your advocate for you as a realtor purchasing the property with the seller and the listing agent, and you're the advocate with the underwriter.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why it's important to have a local mortgage broker who knows the product, right? Like who knows what's going on with the market here, not have a broker from Ontario or Nova Scotia who.
Technically, that's not allowed either. Like your mortgage brokers are licensed in the province that, in one particular province. That's something that's really been cracked down on now in the most recent year, I'd say, as well.
What about with if they have a broker from a bank? So like a mortgage specialist or whatever. So I found this is one of those horror stories.
Tell
A,
me.
a bank that shall not be named with 3 letters starting with R. They had a mortgage arranged through, and it was actually partially the buyer's fault, through Winnipeg. And they ended up not getting their financing in time. And
Mhm.
the listing realtor told me to go stuff it. And I was like, listen, like we have a buyer. What happened was it turned out that this buyer ended up having an extra property that nobody knew about that he
Oh,
owned full out and that he was getting rent on.
yeah.
And anyway, so I ended up calling you
Yes, I know.
and we ended up getting the mortgage through. But
Yes.
what happened was, listen, this is just explaining why full disclosure is absolutely necessary. It all comes out. So he owned a property with his sister in, I think it was Winnipeg. And
Mhm.
um and the bank just shut me down. And because they were a couple hours difference, the person just left at the end of the day and didn't tell me whether or not we could actually remove the financing. So we had to renegotiate the whole offer.
Right. That was a Friday night. I remember I was walking my dog, talking to you, going, "Okay, let's make this happen."
Yeah, so anyway, 2 months later, we ended up with this client in the property. The other thing is there are lots of things that affect buyers that we don't realize. For instance, self-managed stratas, lenders don't like that.
Mhm.
How do we cope with
Yes.
that on your end?
Well, that's where I'm looking at different lenders. There is you that one point right there, self-managed strata. There's so many things that clients don't necessarily realize that goes into choosing the right lender. Property details, self-managed strata. My mind's drawing a blank. Age of the property, rental if there's a suite. Um, Multiple lenders look at rental income differently.
Also, they look at insurance, right? Building insurance.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
becoming more of an issue.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and the type of insurance that's required. Yeah. Yeah.
And the deductibles.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So there
Um,
are some buildings, people, where you have to have $100,000 down in order for your deductible for like if your water tank bursts in a condo.
and where does that come from?
It's in the insurance documents in for the building.
The client. So who comes up with that deductible?
The owner of the unit. That's the deductible. The strata, and
The
then
strata.
then it goes filters down.
So then people don't necessarily understand, yeah, that contingency fund for that condo building is so important. Like that's one reason where lenders will decline. It's given the age of the condo, if it's 1990s and the contingency fund balance is 30,000, the outlook for potential repairs on that is significant, and there's not any money to allow for those repairs.
Right. So one thing that one of my clients did, which I thought was smart, was she had insurance on her mortgage on her insurance for the deductible.
Oh,
So if she was deemed to be responsible, she had insurance for that.
huh.
Made sense.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's really smart.
So for $100,000 deductible. So, and this also brings to the point that if you're going to get insurance, that you probably want to get the same insurance as the building, because then you're not arguing between where the strata line on the property is and where the ownership of the condo starts. Because if something like a water leak happens and it's in a wall, they have to determine who's responsible. So that's one piece of advice that I've learned over the years.
Yes.
Okay, so I have another question. So we now we have an accepted offer, and we have the all the documentation in. What's the next step on the part of the buyer and you?
So we've got sort of say, let's call it a 5-day window where we want to get from pre-approval stage, because I've confirmed all their confirmed their income. We want to get from pre-approval to final approval. And the final approval is meaning that the lender has reviewed all the down payment verification documents, which sometimes can be quite significant, in that if clients have their savings in multiple accounts, we have to get a 3-month history on all those different accounts. And then the lender confirms the income documents, and the lender is also verifying or approving the property the client is purchasing. The key thing that a lot of people don't realize is, oh, I'm pre-approved. You are pre-approved, but the property is not. So,
Yeah.
right, that's a key thing. I was just reading this morning on a mortgage broker Facebook site that there's a broker that was saying, well, you're good, you're pre-approved, and it's like, oh my goodness, the property is not approved until there's a live purchase where there's an actual
Appraisal
offer in place. Or yeah. So then I'm working with the our mutual client over that 5-day period. I'm touching base with them every day, letting them know exactly where we're at. Even if there's no information or we're just waiting to hear back from the underwriter, we're touching base every day until we get to that stage where the lender has reviewed everything, signed off on everything. Clients received the mortgage approval. We've gone through the documents, and they can go ahead and remove their financing condition.
So I'm raising my hand because that's my new strategy to get my voice out there. So interestingly, I had a client who wanted to do a for sale by owner, and they gave an outrageous price to a buyer, and the buyer said yes. And I said to the seller, said, listen, like, yes, maybe the buyer has the money, or is qualified and will be going through the process of due diligence, but it does have to appraise. Now, the thing is, in a shifty market like right now, the appraisal is looking at what's just sold. And once a shift happens, the appraisals now haven't caught up with the market because the sales haven't happened yet. So
Yeah.
this is where we get maybe the appraisal coming in under the asking price.
Yes. And that can be a problem. It's not always a problem because it depends on the amount that the client is putting down for a down payment.
So what does that mean? Like,
So if a client is only putting the minimum down payment of 5%, the lender looks at, and all lenders look at the lower of the appraised value or the purchase price.
okay, or the purchase price.
Yes, it's the lower of the two. So if an appraisal is required, oh, you're going to see my Bernese Mountain Dog there. If an appraisal is required, the lender will take that lower value. And what can happen, or what happened a few years ago, that the CMHC, the mortgage default insurer, their system of determining the appraised value or determining the valuation of properties hadn't caught up to the market. So we were needing to do all these appraisals for high ratio purchases when normally we would never have to do that, and they were coming in light.
Yeah.
So in that situation, if you've got a minimum down payment and an appraisal is required, you have to come up with that additional amount of money for the difference of the purchase price and the appraised value.
So another thing, just a heads up for buyers, because I think I'm going to share this with my buyers, is just be aware that you're excited about purchasing your new place and going out. Do not go shopping at the Brick or buy a new truck, right?
Yes.
Because it changes your debt.
Yes. Usually, I mean, that's also why we really want to get to basically file complete before the financing condition is removed. If I'm not doing my job, or a mortgage broker isn't fully doing their job in the sense of getting that mortgage to file complete, they're leaving things open for the lender to then further scrutinize or ask for more things. Or I mean, all lenders can ask or will just do a credit check right before the completion date. They could do that, which then, yes, if you've gone to the Brick or you've bought a new truck or something like that, that can basically cancel your mortgage approval.
Right. Is there anything happening now, like with the rate changes or anything? Are you being able to like, for instance, if the bond rates are changing and you're able to change the interest rate on the mortgage, can you requalify somebody for a lower interest rate between now and completion?
Yes, and potentially reduce their down payment, or yes. Well, we're getting strategic with one particular green lender. They are very aggressive right now from an interest rate standpoint. So we're able to negotiate the rate lower and then have the qualifying rate lower before we get the approval. It's kind of
What does a green lender mean?
It starts with a T.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Anything else that buyers need to know? Get your ducks in a row before you write the offer.
Yes. And I understand it's always, people don't like the mortgage approval process. I get that. It's, but it definitely helps myself, your realtor, by reaching out and connecting prior to finding the property that you love.
Yes, everybody wants to go out and look at the property and just get going, but it's kind of like going to a candy store and not knowing how much money you have in your pocket. And when you go to pay, feeling unease. You really want to feel ease when you get to that process of writing that offer.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Exactly. Was this helpful? I'm seeing a couple of people watching us. Please give us a like if you found this helpful. And let us know if you want more topics like this. We're happy to get out and discuss things about the process with you. Jen, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah. My phone number 250-217-4925 and email j.lowe@dominionlending.ca.
Okay. And if you want to reach me, my name's Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. My number is 250-744-0775. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. My website's briarhillgroup.com. And you can watch these videos and more at victoriarealestateshow.com, or you can go to the YouTube page. Please remember to subscribe. We'd love to hear from you guys and know what questions you have. Don't forget to comment and share this out with your friends. If you want to reach Andrew, he'll be back next week. His number is 250-360-6106, and his email is info@andrewplank.com. You can also go to his website, andrewplank.com, or Instagram @plankandrew. Okay. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Jane. That was great.
So awesome. I'm glad it worked out. We'll see you soon. Okay.
You bet.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.